Have you ever asked yourself, if life handed you a script filled with challenges and obstacles that seem insurmountable, would you have the courage to rewrite it? If you were born into circumstances where every door seemed locked, where education was dismissed, where extreme beliefs and fear cast a long shadow, could you find your own way out? Today, we're diving into an extraordinary story, an inspiring journey against all odds that might make you reflect deeply on life, on the hidden strength within each of us. It's the story of Tara Westover, told with raw honesty and haunting detail in her globally acclaimed memoir, Educated. This book isn't just a memoir, it's a powerful testament to the transformative power of education, willpower, and a resilient inner self that can break any chain, whether it's the physical chains of circumstance or the invisible chains of ideology. Many readers worldwide have shared that Tara's story made them realize that sometimes the biggest barriers aren't out there in the world, but right inside our own minds. Bill Gates, an avid reader, called Educated a terrific story that truly made him reflect on his own life. Time magazine also honored Tara Westover as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. So what enabled a girl who grew up isolated on a mountain in Idaho, who never set foot in a classroom until she was 17, to eventually earn a PhD from the prestigious University of Cambridge? What helped her escape the shadow of her past, of a family steeped in radical beliefs and violence? The answer, as we'll delve deeper into today, lies in building a strong inner self, forged through 4 core capacities. Let's embark on this incredible journey together, see what we can learn from Tara, and allow ourselves to be educated by her invaluable life lessons. Before we explore those 4 core capacities, we need to truly understand the world Tara Westover grew up in. Picture a mountain called Buck's Peak in Idaho, USA. This place wasn't just geographically remote, it was ideologically isolated. Tara's family lived at its base, disconnected from modern society. Her father, a Mormon with very unique and extreme interpretations of his faith, harbored a deep distrust of everything related to the world outside. He distrusted the government, calling them socialists or the Illuminati. The public healthcare system, all illnesses, even severe injuries, were treated with his wife's homemade herbal remedies, and especially formal education. He believed schools were government tools for brainwashing children, leading them away from God. Many discerning critics and readers have noted signs consistent with bipolar disorder or paranoia in the father, which might partly explain his erratic, sometimes dangerously irrational decisions and behaviors. Tara's mother, initially described as a woman with independent potential, a midwife and herbalist, gradually became subservient under her husband's influence, supporting and sometimes enabling his misguided beliefs and actions. This transformation is one of the quiet tragedies subtly depicted by Tara in the book. The 7 Westover children, including Tara, grew up without legal birth certificates for many years, never attended school, and weren't vaccinated. Their childhood was defined by hard, dangerous labor in the family's scrapyard. Tara started helping her father there at age 7. This wasn't light work. It involved sorting scrap metal, operating heavy machinery, and facing the constant risk of injury. The book unflinchingly describes horrific accidents that befell Tara's brothers. Severe burns, traumatic brain injuries, crushed fingers. All were treated at home using her mother's methods, sometimes resulting in permanent damage. Physical pain and constant fear were integral parts of Tara's childhood landscape. But the harshness didn't just come from the work environment or her parents' beliefs. It also came from within the family itself. One of the most painful and shocking aspects of Educated is the abuse Tara endured from her older brother Sean. Sean is portrayed as volatile, sometimes protective, other times uncontrollably violent. He frequently insulted Tara with demeaning names, controlled her clothing and friendships, and engaged in severe physical violence, grabbing her hair, shoving her head into a toilet, twisting her wrist, and even threatening her life. This was the living hell Tara grew up in, a world dominated by fear, isolation, extreme beliefs, dangerous labor, and domestic violence. Faced with such a bleak picture, many might have broken, accepting their fate. But Tara didn't. And that brings us to the first core capacity that helped her begin her journey. Core capacity number 1, conquering inner fear. Friends, fear is a primal and incredibly powerful emotion. It can protect us from danger, but it can also imprison us within invisible walls. Franklin D. Roosevelt famously said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." This quote resonates deeply with Tara's situation. She lived in an environment where fear was sown daily. Fear of her father's anger, fear of working in the scrapyard, fear of her brother Sean's unpredictable rages, and fear of the world outside, which her father constantly depicted as a place full of traps and sin. That fear was like a thick fog, clouding her vision and suffocating any hope. In the book, Tara describes the scrapyard not just as a workplace, but as a hellish furnace, a place she once imagined as a battleground for demons and witches. This fantasy, perhaps, was her young mind's way of coping with the harsh and dangerous reality. She witnessed her brother nearly die from work accidents. She herself was thrown by debris and nearly run over by her father's vehicle. Every day at the scrapyard was a confrontation with mortality. Then there was the fear stemming from her brother Sean. This was possibly the most terrifying and persistent fear. It wasn't just physical pain, it was soul-crushing emotional abuse. Being called a whore by the brother who should have protected her, being tormented, being controlled so cruelly. Even more painful was the silence, the dismissal, even the enabling behavior from her parents. This instilled in Tara a profound sense of loneliness, confusion, and deep-seated self-doubt. She recounts nightmares of being killed by her brother, an obsession that haunted her for years, even after she reached college. A writer once said, "When you are afraid, all doors close to you. Fear, disappointment, helplessness, and lack of confidence. They act like negative energies. If suppressed for too long, they shape how we see the world and ourselves, causing us to limit our own potential. We start believing we can't, we aren't worthy, and that fate is sealed." But the extraordinary thing about Tara is that despite being submerged in fear, she wasn't entirely paralyzed. Deep inside her, there was a spark of life, a curiosity, a faint awareness that the world couldn't only be this way. Even though fear was ever present, a haunting shadow, she never stopped observing, feeling, and most importantly, she never stopped nurturing a flickering ember of hope. Conquering fear here doesn't mean Tara stopped being afraid. Not at all. It means she recognized the fear and felt it, but didn't let it completely dictate her actions. She was still afraid, but she chose to act anyway. Even carrying the fear, she still decided to set out on the road. This is the first, most crucial step in breaking the chains. It's the choice to face things, even with small steps, rather than completely surrendering. Psychologist Susan Jeffers wrote a famous book titled "Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway." This philosophy perfectly reflects Tara's spirit. She was afraid when secretly studying, afraid when confronting her father, and afraid when stepping into the unfamiliar world of university. But she did it. It was this action, taken in spite of fear, that generated momentum and created change, even if initially it was just tiny shifts in perception and behavior. So how did she manage that? This leads us to the second core capacity. Core capacity number 2, silent effort. You know, sometimes hope arrives from the most unexpected places. For Tara, a light appeared at the end of the tunnel when her third older brother, Tyler, who was also different from the family and loved books, decided to leave the mountain for college. Tyler's success proved to Tara that another path existed. An escape was possible. It planted a seed in her mind, the seed of possibility. And so, Tara began her arduous journey of self-education. Just imagine, a girl who had never sat in a classroom, knew nothing of algebra, grammar, or world history, deciding to pass the ACT, the standardized test for U.S. college admissions. She had no teachers, no tutors, only a few old textbooks Tyler left behind, and an iron will. She seized every rare spare moment between grueling hours at the scrapyard, between endless household chores. She secretly studied trigonometry and physics in her cold bedroom. She had to hide her studies, fearing her father's discovery and prohibition. It was a silent battle, an extraordinary effort undertaken in darkness, unseen, uncelebrated. She later recounted the feeling of first learning about triangles, about the laws of physics. It was like discovering an orderly and rational world, a stark contrast to the chaotic, unpredictable, and often irrational world she lived in. Education, for Tara at this point, wasn't just knowledge. It was the promise of a different order, a different logic, a different truth. She failed her first attempt at the test. The disappointment was real. But instead of giving up, she persisted. She understood this was her only way out. She fought again, and this time, the door to Brigham Young University, a university affiliated with the Mormon Church, the only option her father might reluctantly accept, opened. But getting into college was just the beginning of another set of challenges, perhaps even tougher ones. Try to picture it. Tara entered university at 17, but her foundational knowledge was probably equivalent to that of a young elementary school student. She didn't know what the Holocaust was and had never heard of Napoleon or the American Civil War. Her vocabulary was limited, and her writing skills were nearly non-existent. Even the most basic homework assignments felt like mountains to climb. She often asked naive questions in class, not to be disruptive, but because she genuinely didn't know. This led to misunderstandings with professors and alienation from classmates who saw her as strange. She felt like an alien dropped onto a foreign planet. At times, she questioned if deciding to go to college had been a mistake. Added to this was the financial burden. She had to cover her tuition and living expenses entirely on her own. She worked a cleaning job at 4 a.m. every day, enduring stomach pains from poor nutrition just to pay rent and buy textbooks. And the physical and emotional wounds inflicted by her family continued. Once, right before an important exam, her brother Sean sought her out again and, in a fit of rage, broke her toe. Limping in pain, she still resolutely walked into the exam room. This image is truly haunting and speaks volumes about her indomitable will. Inventor Thomas Edison once said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." Tara's story is the clearest proof of this. She had no privileged starting point, no obvious innate talent. What she had was sheer, unrelenting perseverance. Because she had suffered so much, she studied tirelessly. Because she had faced so many hardships, she cherished every small opportunity to learn and to change her life. she buried herself in books, stayed up late, woke up early, took meticulous notes, and sought help from kind professors and the few friends who saw her potential. She wasn't just learning facts from books. She was learning how to learn, how to think critically, how to ask questions, and how to write an academic essay. And that relentless effort paid off. From a student who knew almost nothing, she rose to become one of the top students, graduating with honors. She received the prestigious Gates-Cambridge Scholarship to pursue a master's and then a PhD at the University of Cambridge, UK, one of the world's most renowned institutions. This truly is a breathtaking turnaround. From a girl who'd never attended school working in a scrapyard to becoming an international scholar. Life is a process of accumulation. The silent efforts of today, however small, are building the foundation for the future. As another saying goes, plant a tree today, even if you don't know who will sit in its shade tomorrow. Tara silently planted the seeds of knowledge and willpower, eventually reaping unimaginable rewards. Many readers share that Tara's incredible persistence is what inspires them most, making them reevaluate their own difficulties and find renewed motivation to keep trying. But this educational journey also simultaneously created an ever-widening gap between Tara and her old world. This brings us to the third capacity. Core capacity number 3, learning to be alone. When Tara entered university, she faced not only academic and financial challenges, but also a profound sense of loneliness. This loneliness stemmed from the intense conflict between the belief system and values she was raised with and the real world she was now experiencing. Imagine Tara's feelings seeing female classmates wearing skirts above the knee, while her father's voice echoed in her head, calling it a sign of depravity. Or seeing friends go to the movies on Sunday, the Sabbath, and feeling it was disrespectful to God. She even maintained the habit of not washing her hands after using the restroom because no one did at home, and she feared taking painkillers for a severe ear infection because her family rejected modern medicine. She refused government grants even when struggling to pay tuition because her father taught her it was the way of the socialists. These differences made her an oddity in the eyes of her peers. They looked at her with disdain and curiosity, or simply avoided her. She had almost no friends, wandering alone on the vast university campus. The feeling of being lost, of not belonging anywhere, was constant. But it was in this solitude that Tara found an invaluable companion: books. She began to devour them, not just textbooks, but classics of history, philosophy, and literature. She read about civilizations, intellectual revolutions, and feminism through the works of John Stuart Mill and Mary Wollstonecraft. She discovered different perspectives on the world, history, and religion, things entirely contrary to what her father had taught her. Reading didn't just help her catch up academically and bridge the gap with her peers. More importantly, it helped her engage in a dialogue with herself. In the quiet sanctuary of the library, in the solitude of her rented room, she had the space to reflect, question, and doubt the old beliefs deeply ingrained in her subconscious. The writer Hermann Hesse once wrote, "Solitude is the path by which destiny intends to lead man to himself." For Tara, solitude was initially a forced circumstance, but gradually she transformed it into a space for self-discovery and self-reinvention. When alone in the right way, the anxieties, the noise from the outside world, and even the internal conflicts begin to quiet down. She found her own rhythm, developed independent thinking, and made more rational judgments about things. This was her prime value-adding time. Tara's solitude also came from another, more painful source: isolation from her own family. As her knowledge and awareness grew, she began to recognize the truth about her brother Sean's violence and the toxicity of her family environment. She decided to speak up, seeking help from her parents, but she was met with denial and anger. Her parents believed she had been corrupted by the outside world, was possessed by demons, and that she was imagining things, deliberately trying to destroy the family. They demanded she choose: either accept their version of reality or be cast out. And when Tara resolutely defended the truth she knew, defended her own lived experience, her entire family turned against her, isolating her. Even other siblings, out of fear or pressure, gradually distanced themselves. This was a different kind of loneliness, an extreme isolation stemming from rejection by the very people she loved most, being treated as an enemy. Yet, it was precisely during this painful period of isolation that Tara clung even tighter to her inner truth. She continued her research and read even more, trying to decipher the mysteries and contradictions within her own family. She wrote her doctoral dissertation on intellectual history, partly as a way to better understand the origins of the beliefs that had shaped her childhood. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer argued, "He who does not love solitude will not love freedom." Tara's process of learning to be alone was precisely her struggle for freedom. Freedom from her family's imposition, freedom from false beliefs, and ultimately, the freedom to be herself. Solitude wasn't a deathly loneliness. It became a state of enlightenment, an inner strength that helped her fly towards her own sky, even at a great cost. Exceptional people often find strength in stillness, while the crowd uses noise to fill the void. Tara's journey shows that learning to confront and even harness solitude is a vital capacity for developing inner strength and achieving extraordinary things. But this growth also placed her before a final, most painful choice. This is the fourth capacity, core capacity number 4, letting go of attachments. There's a poignant quote by the writer Wendell Berry: "The mind that is not baffled is not employed. The impeded stream is the one that sings." A mind, once expanded by new ideas, can never return to its original narrow dimensions. This perfectly describes Tara's situation. She had changed. She had been educated, and she had seen a larger world, a different truth. She couldn't go back to the person she was, couldn't turn a blind eye to what she now knew and understood. But her family remained static. They were still entrenched in their old beliefs, still protecting Sean, still viewing Tara as the traitor, the one controlled by Satan, the destroyer of the family. Whenever she tried to speak the truth about Sean's violence, her father dismissed it and berated her. Her mother chose silence, a silence that amounted to complicity with her husband. Sean constantly called with threats and insults, even threatening to hire someone to kill her. Even her sister, once close, chose to cut ties to maintain peace within the family structure. The opposition between Tara and her family was no longer just a difference of opinion. They were two entirely different worlds, irreconcilable. The most complex and agonizing part, as Tara shares in the book, was that her parents' love, however distorted, still existed. They still wanted her back, wanted her saved in their way. They couldn't understand that she had found her own salvation through education. That love, though real, became a painful tether. Family is often the hardest place to draw lines of right and wrong. Tara didn't want to sever blood ties. The image of Buck's Peak, the image of her family, constantly lingered in her mind, a source of both pain and longing. She fell into a fierce internal struggle. Her spirit felt torn apart. She collapsed, lost confidence, and fell into a severe depression. She numbed herself by watching TV all day, experienced moments of manic laughter and tears, and ran out into the streets screaming at night. These were signs of a soul on the verge of breaking. But it was her new awareness from education, from what she had learned about psychology, history, and personal development, that gradually helped her see the situation clearly. She realized that sometimes, for a tree to grow healthy, diseased branches must be pruned. For her to live a healthy life, true to her own values, she sometimes had to accept distancing herself from toxic relationships, even if it was family. She understood that growing up sometimes means separating from parents, not necessarily emotionally, but ideologically and in terms of dependence. In truly healthy family dynamics, there must be room for separation, for difference, allowing each individual to live their own life. After a long and agonizing internal battle, Tara finally made the hardest decision: to say goodbye to her parents and to her past. She stopped trying to change them, and she stopped letting them define or destroy her. She chose distance to protect her own peace and mental health. This wasn't an easy abandonment. It was an act requiring extraordinary courage. The courage to face the guilt, the fear of abandonment, the sense of loss. The courage to choose herself. As Tara said in an interview, paraphrased earlier, "You can love someone and still choose to say goodbye. You can miss someone every day and still be grateful they are not in your life." This statement holds a profound and complex truth. Some loves, some relationships, are best kept in the heart, remembered from a safe distance. Trying to hold on, trying to reconcile, when the differences are fundamental, only brings more suffering to everyone involved. Letting go of attachments here doesn't mean becoming heartless. It means learning to accept reality and accepting one's own limits and the limits of others. It's learning to love oneself enough not to allow further harm. Like turning from the scorching sun to embrace the moon, not because we forget the sun's warmth, but because we need the coolness to survive. Only by learning to let go of what no longer fits, what causes harm, can we truly move towards a better, freer life. Many readers have expressed deep empathy for this part of the story, as it touches upon universal experiences of outgrowing relationships and the painful cost of self-discovery. So we've journeyed together through the turbulent yet incredibly powerful story of Tara Westover in Educated. From a girl raised in isolation on a mountain, deprived of formal education, facing extremism, violence, and constant fear, Tara, step by step, rewrote her life script. She achieved this by forging a mighty inner strength through the 4 core capacities we've explored: conquering inner fear, acknowledging fear and acting despite it, silent effort, persisting relentlessly, accumulating knowledge and skills day by day, learning to be alone, transforming solitude into a space for self-discovery, independent thought, and inner power, letting go of attachments, bravely leaving behind what is toxic or no longer serves growth, in order to protect oneself and pursue one's own path. Education, in Tara's story, is far more than just learning facts from books. It's a process of self-education, self-awareness, and self-liberation from the constraints of circumstance and ideology. It opens the door to a new world, a new self. As Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Tara used that weapon to change her own world. Life, as Tara experienced, sometimes feels like a fruitful tree, other times like a barren wasteland. But her story reminds us that even in the darkest circumstances, the potential for change always resides within us. We are like pearls, needing to nurture the ability to heal our wounds, transforming pain into something luminous and beautiful. I hope that through Tara Westover's story, you found inspiration and strength for your own journey. Maybe you're facing difficulties, fears, and complex relationships. Or perhaps you're simply on the path of self-discovery. Remember, you have the right to learn, the right to change, and the right to write your own life story. Keep working silently and diligently. Build your inner fortitude. Don't fear solitude, and bravely let go of what no longer serves your growth. Only then can you meet the better version of yourself and find true happiness and authentic freedom. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to today's sharing on BookSmart Insights. If you found this video helpful, or if it resonated with you, please hit that like button to show your support. Please share this video with anyone you think might need to hear this inspiring story. Most importantly, what are your thoughts on Tara Westover's journey? Which of the 4 capacities struck you the most? Please leave a comment below. I genuinely love hearing your thoughts and experiences. Finally, if you enjoy content like this, exploring personal growth through books, make sure to subscribe to BookSmart Insights and click the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Wishing you all a meaningful day. And remember, you always have the power within you to turn life's bitterness into immense inner strength. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.